Welcome back to Just English Talk with me, Alex.
Eleanor.
And Louis.
And today we are going to be talking about reading for pleasure and the way that differs from studying, reading for study. I don't think that's the best way of explaining it, but you guys know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. And we were thinking particularly about the students who've just finished their exams or are about to finish their exams and might be ready to stop reading for a second, particularly people like Dickens, Priestley, Shakespeare, needing a break from all of that. However, of course, your summer extends before you, and that should include, hopefully, some reading as well. So how you can get into reading for pleasure again after doing so much reading for studying and for school and for remembering.
Yeah.
Hey guys, just briefly interrupting you before we get into today's video. Just want to let you know we've got a free resource for you that is in the description. All you need to do is to fill in your email address. I'll get it sent straight over to you. You can enjoy it straight away. It is a reading journal, a reading log, so you can track all of this reading that you're going to be doing for pleasure this summer. All right, check it out. Let's get into the video.
Well, my first initial thought is that you've just spent potentially the last 2 years more, in the lead up to your GCSEs or even to your A-levels, really probably focused on the text that you've got to write about in your exams, and they obviously chew up and consume all of your time, and you're reading the surface, the subtext of the subtext, the contextual you're picking every detail, every word apart in theory and themes and linking it to the author's lives and all these things. I would say that probably my first piece of advice coming to reading for pleasure is just, unless you're like really drawn to an author, don't even bother worrying about their life or what they were going through, right? Like, or trying to draw some link between what they were going through in their marriage or what which the Labour Party were doing, or, whatever it is. Just like leave all of that like context stuff to the side, at least initially, and just focus on enjoying a story, because I think the most important thing about reading for pleasure is that you're enjoying reading a story. Yeah.
Unless, of course, reading a little bit about the author gets you fired up to read the book. Because sometimes you'll do that, like you'll pull open the book and you'll read all the reviews, and then you'll see the author bio, and then you'll see the kind of the foreword from someone you really respect. And
the little picture on the back dust cover of them. You're like, oh, interesting.
And sometimes that stuff can actually motivate you to read. True. So I completely agree with you, though, that kind of don't treat it as a study exercise necessarily.
You don't need to study. You don't need to necessarily jump straight on Spark Notes, although at the same time that can be quite fun, like to get there. But sorry, not Spark Notes, my resources. And shout out competitors on the podcast, can't be doing that. I think that reading for pleasure. I think that phrase is a little. We were just talking about on a recent podcast about things being problematic. I think that pleasure suggests like constant good feeling, or like and
we're not getting a dopamine rush necessarily from reading, but we might be getting a serotonin rush or just a flow state rush as we're enjoying doing something that's sometimes a little bit hard still, but also enjoyable and fun.
Because it sounds a little bit too scientific for me there. We're humanities people. Come on.
Well,
serotonin.
It's very similar to the kind of joy that people get out from running marathons or or going to the gym on a regular basis, or any one of these kind of like perseverance based activities where in the moment it can be painful, and I'm not talking that like reading a book is like as hard as that can be as maybe mentally.
Depends who you are, to be honest.
It depends on how you're reading the book. If you're reading it upside down,
sometimes just lifting War and Peace is
it's so tricky. But I think that there's like you want to take a sense of satisfaction, which might be that you're just reading something that's like trashy, which is great. Please, don't there's. It's fine to enjoy trashy things.
And that can be a way to get back into things. Exactly, if you need a break from Dickens, reading something that you enjoy that's more YA. We've spoke about young adult literature on the pod before, but thinking about something that is rereading something that you liked that you haven't had time to read again in the last 2 years, perhaps even, and enjoying it, reading it for the story or the characters.
And that kind of segues quite nicely into this idea of reading as kind of like a community thing. So maybe you have a book club if you are nerdy like us, or maybe slightly, if you're kind of going it alone a bit more, then you've got BookTok and
Goodreads
and all of this kind of community-based stuff to do with reading. You can read like the latest sensation, like what's hot right now.
Exactly.
And read it for its hotness rather than its literary merit. But often they also come along with literary merit. Like one of the most popular books, two of the most popular books at the moment that I've read recently, I read because everyone's talking about them, and they were actually really good books. So Project Hail Mary and Wild Dark Shore, and I think they were both long listed for the Booker Prize, etc. And they're good books, but I went to them because everyone was talking about them and I wanted to talk to my friends about them.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing as well with Project Hail Mary, which recently has come out as a film as well. You can read the book and then watch the film, or you can watch the film and then go back and read the book, etc. And then you can talk about it more.
And even if you hate the book, that's actually good. I was thinking we had some discussions not too long ago, Louis, about Flesh.
Oh yeah.
Which like was another won the Booker, and like was, you look on the tube moment, every third person, fifth person might be holding a copy because it's still like in that afterglow. Yeah. And I thought it was great. You really didn't like it at all, but that is actually that's at least you're like, you can engage in the conversation. It's very different to being like I saw a review and I think it's crap kind of thing. Like if you read it and you don't like it.
Absolutely. And you can end up taking some of the skills that you've picked up in English lessons to talk about why you liked it or why you didn't like it. And you move away from analysis to appreciation. There was there's a very famous theorist called Susan Sontag who talked about like the erotics of art, and basically arguing that what we should be doing when we do English is not analysing and interpreting so much as it is appreciating. And that doesn't have to always be a positive thing. It can also be critical, but you're going in and you're thinking like, what makes this what it is, rather than how is meaning communicated necessarily.
Exactly. You don't have to talk to your friends about the books you're reading with the symbol of the tree suggests, etc. You can just say, I really like this character because, or I liked how they ended. I think they deserved it, or not because.
Yeah, you can treat the characters like they are people, which is something you're always steered away from by your English teachers.
Exactly.
You can absolutely go, I actually don't think that he would have done this, and I don't agree with the way that the writer has done it. That's not canon for me. That kind of thing that's going on.
And but because I guess that the reading for study aspect is that you're very much taught, and rightly so. You analyze the words on the page. And you don't. This is not your opportunity to theorize about Macbeth 2. Or any of these kind of like, like random creations in your mind. But if you want to do that on the back of your exams, go for it. I remember that I had a student once who, like, after he finished his GCSEs and came back, he wasn't even studying English, but he wrote like a mini Inspector Calls sequel, like in year 12. And
was it just the same exact thing?
More or less, yeah. It was
kind of like Inspector coming in and they're like, oh no, it's waiting for Godot.
You didn't learn your lesson.
Nothing happens twice.
Yeah, I wish I could remember more of it, but I remember like thinking like that is, absolutely fine to do because you're not stuck. You're just having fun with with the characters that you liked and whatever. You don't need to feel the stress of like, is this going to get a 9?
And places like Wattpad and AO3, you can just like read fanfic. Even if you're not writing the fanfic, you can like just read like, I loved this character. I do not accept that this book is over and therefore they're gone.
I want to see where else they pop up.
Or I wish they ended up with a different person, so I'm going to write that ending instead.
I care so deeply about Draco and Hermione.
Go back. And that's also part of it, is being able to share books with people. So my friends and I quite often share books, and I say, you have to read this because I want to know your thoughts on it. And then you get to sort of talk about it as if, again, they're people and it's dramatic. And have you got to the bit where this happens yet? Oh my God, what happens? And it's all really fun. It's like drama almost at that point that you get into. And that's really fun.
Yeah, I think maybe perhaps the bravery of stepping up and being the first like kid in your group to like do that is important. Like if you can, like if you know that your friends like are all a little bit like, that probably deep down they want to, but they're not sure. You're just waiting for someone like, just drop it in. Like what's the worst that's going to happen? Oh, they call you a nerd and run away. I doubt that's going to happen.
And then you get some better friends.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Precisely.
Take the book by the covers. Read.
100%. great new idiom. Take the bull by the horns. Now we're going to take the book by the covers.
Exactly.
Huge.
So what other ways do we think that people can, or young people or old people who are listening, can kind of move out of study and into pleasure?
Local library. I'm always going to advocate for that.
Yeah.
They often also have a what's hot in books, in literature, table or shelf or something.
Because we're a saturated market, and
Exactly.
obviously hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of literature, with everything being, you have to read this, it can be overwhelming. Like, one of my best friends works in publishing, and whenever she's at work, someone will be like, oh, we got the preprint of this, you have to read it. And she's like, I have 700 books on my TBR, and I'm reading 11 books right now.
Yeah.
Give me a moment.
Yeah.
That's reading.
And so if you can have someone who directs you to what's hot right now, or maybe you go to a smaller library where there's a smaller selection,
Exactly.
or you go to a secondhand bookshop where the selection isn't necessarily what people have submitted.
Or you say, you tell your friends, you pick what you like, and you say, all the cool kids are reading Hemingway right now. Guys, get on board. Or Steinbeck, or someone.
Yeah. And they're easy reads as well.
Yeah, the online world is, obviously it has its drawbacks, but it is quite good for bringing up kind of classics, in a way that might have been momentarily forgotten or less popular. I just finished East of Eden, and that was partly because, I don't know, like for some reason my Twitter algorithm had been like pumping, you gotta reread East of Eden. I think it's because what's her name, Florence Pugh is starring in a adaptation in the actor at the end. There's a Netflix adaptation that's coming at the end of the year where she plays Kathy, who's like the kind of central antagonist of the book. That's actually maybe also another thing, just thinking out loud, that like if there is a show that you have seen, like, I know it's not a show, but you just mentioned Project Hail Mary, going back in the reverse way that typically people do, like typically people read the book first and then they watch the film, but actually you can do it the other way too. You can watch the adaptation or the film and then come back to the book.
I can guarantee that after the recent AQA English language paper
Haunting
Haunting a Hill House, people are going to go and watch the Mike Flanagan series and then go and read the book, and then they're going to go, actually, this Flanagan guy is onto something. I'm going to go and watch Haunting of Bly Manor, which is based on Turn of the Screw by Henry James. And
then you're in Henry James, and then like suddenly you're opening up a whole new avenue and like making those. That's always, you guys must have been the same, but like the kind of mini connections. I grew up when I was like in my late teens, really like, like I guess a lot of boys like Bret Easton Ellis, right? But then like from Bret Easton Ellis, it was like very like, oh, there's Donna Tartt, they were like in the same world. And then once you're there, like you're suddenly moving off into these kind of, Paul Auster and all these kind of novelists who are like vaguely connected. You find a new name, you look it up, you're on the Wikipedia page, suddenly, oh, this seems interesting, and boom.
And suddenly what we were saying earlier about don't go into the context, you're not doing it for study, you're doing it because like actually it adds richness to and kind of incentive and motivation to read the book, because you're like, whoa, they were in the same coterie, these guys were besties,
and how are they influencing each other and kind of bouncing off each other. I mean, in many ways it's kind of like a more it's a more literary Pokemon kind of thing, like how many you've got to catch them all, like how many of these can you once you get one, and once you've got one under your belt.
So I'm going to be honest with you, mate. I think what we're trying to do with this podcast is make reading seem less nerdy. And brought it to Pokemon cards.
Fair.
Good job. Yeah. So should we do a quick fire? What are we reading right now? Because we are not reading to study right now.
Nope.
So what are we reading?
Well, I'm reading 2 books. I've got a couple others that I have started, but also, but have best on the bedside table. We're working through them, but we're taking breaks from some others. I have just finished Fair Stood the Wind for France, which is H.E. Bates, which is the person who wrote Darling Buds of May, if you know that. Gorgeous, tender, beautiful, lovely, wonderful. And then I'm also reading, I've got about 40 pages left of Clockwork Orange, which is different than that. And very interesting if you're looking for kind of, we've talked about YA a lot, apparently, but talking about teenagers in literature, but it being quite an intense and adult book.
It's
otherwise.
incredibly
It's very
intense.
cool. Extremely intense. Yeah.
Luke,
what are we saying?
Should I go next?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
I can't remember what I'm reading.
Well, I just finished East of Eden early this week, and that was incredible. It's definitely the longest book I'd read for a while. It's like 600 pages. It's Steinbeck. It's the Salinas Valley, as you can imagine, and it's a kind of modern retelling of the story of Cain and Abel, I guess. So there's a kind of biblical element, but it's just. It was just, I mean, I don't know how to describe it. You have to read the book. It's just an incredible family saga, generations, pain, lost. It's a love letter to his children and the reason why children don't have to feel bound by the mistakes of their parents. It's got a very uplifting message. But because that was so heavy and because it's all I've been able to think about, I am now reading, it's called The Power and the Glory. It's by Jonathan Wilson. It's a history of the World Cup. Excellent. Because the World Cup starts next week, and I would say that I know there's a lot of books about football and stuff. This is like a kind of literary book about football. It's like a history, okay, and he's a very 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 good writer, but it's just light reading. It's just light. I don't have to think too heavily. It's what happened in the lead up to each of these World Cups since 1930. It's very entertaining. If you like football but you don't want to read whatever kind of boring football books are out there, this one's a little bit more historical and a little bit, but still very, very easy to read. So that's where I am.
Love that. I'm in a bit of a new genre at the moment. After 18 months of just fiction, kind of strictly fiction, I'm drifting into the kind of literary non-fiction, specifically memoir, and more specifically memoir of non-fiction writers. So I read Joyride, which is Susan Orlean's memoir, and it's beautiful, wonderful, and that led me directly into draft number 4, which is John McPhee's memoir on kind of how to write and how he came to be the writer that he is. They're both New Yorker writers for a long time, which also led me to start Reporting Back, which is Lillian Ross, another New Yorker writer for 50 plus years. So I'm kind of I'm in that space right now, and I just started this morning A Life of My Own, which is another writer's memoir, but she's English, not a New Yorker writer. She's a biography writer, and at the moment she's just talking about her kind of family history before she was born, and has even just described what she'd learned about her own conception and how it has changed her concept, if you will, of her entire life. And yeah, it's kind of fascinating to see fantastic writers writing about writing and writing about reading and writing also about life. So that's where I am. But I've also just started, in terms of fiction, just so I don't lose that thread, White Teeth, Sadie Smith. I think it might be the best book that has been written in the last 100 years.
Have you read it before? You've read it before?
Yeah.
That's definitely one to come back to.
Yeah. Oh, utterly incredible, because I went to see a talk by her the other night, and I was reminded that she's probably the coolest person alive. Yeah, lots of superlatives, but that's where I'm at.
Nice.
Amazing.
Good luck with your reading, guys.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Get on it. See you later.
Bye.